we're going to get started on the G license qualification for the state of Florida, statewide firearm license. Hey guys, I'm Frank Latella. I appreciate you clicking on this video. So I am the owner of Boynton Guns, a retail firearms store in South Florida, a security officer instructor, and of course a patriotic civilian. So this video is going to be specifically about the G license in the state of Florida. The G license is a companion license. That means you cannot have only a G license. If someone works security, whether you are working at a gated community checking IDs, you're working at a club, or you're doing armored car, bodyguard, pretty much any type of security in the state of Florida, you need a D license. If your job requires you to carry a firearm exposed, open carry, you also need the G license. Now, the G license will apply for private investigators as well. So when it comes to the initial course, it is a 28-hour class, starting with classroom, moving on to firearm handling, and then, of course, the test, the qualification at the range. Now, you're watching this video either because you're interested in becoming a security officer, you already are, and you just need a refresher on what to do for your requalification once a year, or maybe it just popped up in your newsfeed and you're bored. Either way, this channel, Frank Latella's Self-Protection Network, is dedicated to bringing you content like this, as well as gun and gear reviews, self-defense tips and tactics, and a lot of things in between. So if you get value out of this video, or if you're interested in this realm of knowledge, consider subscribing to this channel, clicking the like button, and sharing this video with a friend. When it comes to the qualification process, you are to choose between a semi-automatic or a revolver to get qualified. Now, personally, semi-automatic all the way. But if you choose to switch weapons in the future when you're working, you must re-qualify. So that being said, let's say I'm using my Glock 17 semi-automatic handgun, which is chambered in 9mm. That means I can use, when I'm working, any semi-automatic firearm, handgun I should say, that is chambered in 9mm. If I qualify with a semi-auto 9, I can only carry a semi-auto 9. If I qualify with a semi-automatic 380 caliber or 40 caliber, I can only use those calibers when I'm working. So that being said, if you have a primary firearm that's 9mm and a backup firearm that's a 380, if you choose to do that, you must qualify with each caliber. Make sure you watch to the end of the video, because I'm going to provide you with a slide where you could take a screenshot, so when you go to the range, you know exactly what to practice. All right, let's start shooting. Stage 1, fired from the 3-yard line for a total of 6 rounds. On the command, you are going to draw your firearm and assume a 2-hand grip. You're going to fire 1 round to the right target, followed by 1 round to the left target. You're then going to cover down range, finger off the trigger, and reholster on the command. Now you are given 4 seconds to fire those 2 shots. That's plenty of time. On the command, I'm going to draw, this time starting on the left target and moving to the right. I will cover down range, keeping the gun pointed below my target but still forward, and on the command I will reholster. I will repeat this 1 final time, starting on the right target. I am going to perform a Empty gun reload, bringing the slide forward, covering down range. At this point, I am assessing to confirm there are no other threats. Holster your firearm reluctantly. There is a round in the chamber, and a negligent discharge can happen. Stage 2, also from the 3-yard line, 12 rounds to be fired. So this drill starts from the high ready position, and on the command, I'm going to fire 3 rounds on the right target. From the moment the command is given until the 3rd shot is fired, I have 3 seconds. That is plenty of time. From here, I'm going to return to the high ready position, covering down range, and on the command, I will fire 3 rounds to the left target. I also have 3 seconds. At this point, I'm going to perform a tactical reload, also known as a magazine exchange. After we get through all of the stages, I'm going to talk about the difference between the two and which one should be done. At this point, we are switching to one-handed shooting. We are going to be shooting 3 rounds on the left target with our strong hand. So I am right-handed, so that's what I will be doing. We are given a generous amount of time, 20 seconds to fire. Once I fire all 3 rounds, I'm going to switch to my support hand, in this case being my left hand. When I switch, I must do so carefully, making sure that my finger stays outside of the trigger guard. On the command, I am going to clear the firearm to make it safe and reholster. All right, for stage 3, we are moving back to the 7-yard line and we're firing 6 shots. On the command, I will draw my firearm from the holster and fire 3 rounds on the right target within 5 seconds. I will then reload. This time I am performing a tactical reload. Then I will return my firearm safely to the holster. Again, on the command, I will draw and fire 3 rounds on the left target within 5 seconds. On the command, reholster your firearm. Stage 4, also from the 7-yard line, 6 rounds to be fired. This is a similar pattern to stage 1, although the final string of shots are in a different order. On the command, I will draw my firearm and shoot 1 round to the right target, 1 round to the left target in 7 seconds. On the command, I will holster. Then I will reset. Draw, starting with the left target, then the right target in 7 seconds. On the command, I will holster. On the command, I will draw. Final will be 1 to the right target, 1 to the left target in 7 seconds. On the command, I will safely and slowly reholster my firearm. Stage 5, 15-yard line, 12 rounds to be fired. Don't let the distance psych you out. Keep everything the same. Trigger control, breathing. If nothing changes, the distance won't matter as much. It's up here. This is a similar pattern to stage 3, although the round count and time given is different. On the command, I will draw my firearm and shoot 6 rounds on the right target. I have 40 seconds. I will then perform a reload, and on the command, I will fire 6 rounds on the left target, also within 40 seconds. On the command, I will reholster my firearm safely. Finally, we made it to stage 6. 15-yard line, 6 rounds. On the command, I will fire 2 rounds on the left target within 10 seconds. On the command, I will holster my firearm. A good grip on your gun is even more important in the rain. On the command, I'm firing 2 rounds to the right target within 10 seconds. Then reholster. Finally, on the command, I will draw. Fire 2 rounds on the left target within 10 seconds. And when safe to do so, on the command, I will holster. So let's talk about the reload. When it comes to reloading your firearm, you have an empty gun reload. Your slide locked to the rear, you have no ammunition left. You must quickly drop that magazine, insert a new one, bring the slide forward, and go. But there's also a tactical reload, or some call it a magazine exchange, where you're not completely out. There might be 2-4 rounds left, but you have the ability to switch magazines to a full one. Now, in a few of these stages, a mandatory reload is required. So let me read you from the manual from the Department of Agriculture. It says, point of clarification. For the mandatory reload in the handgun qualification course, during the firing of handgun qualification courses, mandatory reloads will be accomplished by performing a standard, and it says in quotes, 2-hand reload. There are to be no 1-hand reload procedures used during live fire events. Those procedures, as provided in Unit 10 Survival Shooting of the Firearm Training Manual, are for instructional purposes only. The reason why I read that to you is it simply says standard 2-hand reload, but there's no definition in here that defines what that is between empty gun reload and tactical reload. So I took it upon myself to reach out to an investigator with the Florida Department of Agriculture Division of Licensing, specifically someone who makes sure that us K licensees are in compliance. And I asked him, which one should I do? And I'm just paraphrasing here, but he essentially said it doesn't explicitly state it, so it's instructor's choice, but he recommends we go with the safer one of the two, which generally is drop the magazine and reload, considering when you're doing that tactical reload, you still have a round in your chamber, and someone who's inexperienced might not be safe for them. So if you're a security officer, instructor, or maybe a police officer, I want you to comment below and tell me which method you use during qualification. And if you're watching this video because you're refreshing your mind before you requalify, comment below on which method your instructor had you do for initial qualification, tactical reload or empty gun reload. So the way I'm going to do it, because both methods should be taught, in my qualification, you will end up doing both in different drills. But once again, it's all about training. I know that's a very fine technical detail that many people might overlook, but that's something that caught my eye. So when it comes to the reload, practice both.
All right, let's talk about scoring the targets. On the initial G license test, there's going to be 3 cycles. The first one is simply a warm-up, so take advantage of it. The second and third are both working sets, so you must pass both of them. Your score will be the highest of the 2. Now, out of those 3 cycles, there are 48 rounds total that you're going to fire. Now, for the G license requalification, it's very similar. 48 rounds fired, you get 3 opportunities to pass, but you only have to pass once. That being said, the first round could act as a warm-up, but if you do pass, you're good. You don't have to continue. But you do have 3 opportunities to do that. The minimum passing score on this is 168 points out of a possible 240. So if there's only 48 rounds fired, well, how do we get to that large number? Well, I'm going to show you. right. So in the video that you saw, I was using this target, which is typically used by FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. For your G license qualification and requalification, you're typically going to see the B34 target. We also have the reduced size B29 target. So let me explain a little bit about each, although this is going to be the primary focus. So the B34 target. First, let me talk about how to score it and then the details on the length and all of that. So when it comes to the scoring side, we have the center of the ring, we'll call that bullseye. Then we have 10, 9, and 8. So anything in this area is going to be considered 5 points. So now when we get to the 7 ring, 4 points. And anything in the silhouette is 3. All right? So we have 3 points, 4 points, and everything else here is 5 points. Now, from the test, you're going to be alternating from one target to the next. And even if, of course, we want to aim for the center, even if you miss high or you take a headshot, you're still good. We want to avoid the paper. We want to avoid that. Now, let's talk about the B34 versus the B29, why there's a difference. So the B34 target is fired at the 3-yard line, the 7-yard line, and the 15-yard line like you saw in the video. Now, if you're at a shooting range that is shorter than 15 yards, the B29 reduced size target fired from the 2, 4, and 10-yard line. So let's first roughly measure. We're not doing anything fancy here. About 10.5 inches from silhouette to silhouette from the center. About 10.5. Now from here, we're looking at about 9.5. So there's only 1 inch difference as far as the length is concerned. Now if we go from all the way from the top all the way to the bottom, that's about 21. And we go here, that's about 19. So I'm sure there's a formula out there where you can see the difference if one is in fact easier. But if you really think about it, there is a larger target that's a little bit further or a smaller target that's a little bit closer. Sounds to me like it's pretty much the same thing. Personally, I like to practice and I like to have my students practice shooting at a further target. It's more of a mindset thing. If you know that you can hit a target accurately at 15 yards, moving in closer is nothing. All right, so that's my mindset behind it. Now, as far as the silhouette goes, I did the measurements, and it's roughly the same thing. If we go from ring to ring, 8 inch, 7 inch, right? And we'll go long ways here, 10 inch to about a foot, okay? So you can see the difference on these. When I talk to somebody from the Department of Agriculture, like I mentioned earlier, I also ask the question, is it only based off of the size of the range, or could it be seen as instructor's choice? And I got another one of those answers as well. It doesn't specifically state this, so my personal preference is going to be this guy. Now, if we move to the FDLE target, you might be wondering why I use this one in the video. Well, number one, if the law enforcement is doing it, I want to do it as well. But also, I didn't have access to those targets at the time, so that's okay. As far as training, qualifying, it must be this or it must be this. As far as training and preparing for it, let's just do something simple. Silhouette to silhouette, roughly 10.5. And I'm going to go with the wide part, silhouette to silhouette, here, about 11. So it's pretty much the same thing as far as training goes. Not so much qualifying, because qualifying has to be exact. Now, if we go from here to here, we have about 11.5. If I put that from the center, we have from the neck to about halfway here. That being said, all you have to do is take a pen or take a marker and mark it here and here, and all of your shots have to go in there. So don't use the excuse, oh, I don't have a B34 or B29 target. It doesn't matter. Focus and practice. Now, when it comes to the scoring, we talked about the number system. The way that it's set up is you could actually get 12 shots in the silhouette on each target and still pass, as long as everything else is in the 7 or closer. So you could miss, you do the math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the rest of them are here. You're going to just pass by the skin of your teeth on each one. That being said, the test isn't as hard as you might think. Focus on the basics, trigger control, and breathing. All right, so when it comes to scoring the target, that's something that your instructor is going to do. But just so you understand how they're going to do it, assuming my bullet goes right there, clearly that's in the 8 ring. But what if I am something like that, where it's mainly an 8, but it did break the line on number 9? You will be scored the higher of the two, meaning that would count as number 9. Same thing goes for silhouette, right? If I'm out here, personally, right, I would say you missed your target. But as far as the qualification is concerned, you did get silhouette, meaning you got that 3 point.
Thank you for watching to the end of this video. Make sure to take a screenshot of what's to follow so that you can practice on your own. Consider liking and subscribing to this channel so that you can stay informed. And remember, you are your own first responder.